healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Irene. That was beautiful. And I feel very, very grateful to be introducing both Jeff and Darlene, who will be speaking this evening. Jeff and Darlene Sutherland are a couple who have had to continually adapt to ever-changing lives. Jeff, once a physician, recognized by his peers for excellence in clinical work, medical teaching, and medical leadership, had all of this come to a screeching halt when he was diagnosed with ALS at the age of 41 in 2007. When ALS entered her family's life, Darlene ended her entrepreneurial business to focus on raising her 3 sons and becoming Jeff's primary caregiver. Darlene and Jeff did not stop doing because of this disease. They adapted to their new circumstances. Since 2011, Jeff has been using his eyes and an eye-tracking computer to communicate with his family, friends, and inspire others through his writing. For 11 years, Jeff has been leading fundraiser for ALS Canada, and he and Darlene have been actively involved on several boards to support ALS clients. In 2016, Jeff and Darlene's family had tragedy maliciously strike again when their eldest son, Zach, and his longtime girlfriend, Kaya, tragically passed in a short kayaking trek on the river that flows behind their family home. Both were only 21 years old. Nothing, not even ALS, could prepare them for the depth of darkness into which they would descend with the devastating and inexplicable losses of Zach and Kaya. Through the eyes of someone who has lost profoundly, Jeff tells his family's story in his memoir, Still Life. This book is not your typical memoir, as it could be described as part grief journal, part grief manual, part spiritual journey, and part reflection on what is necessary for a good life. Still Life is wholly honest and incredibly vulnerable throughout its entirety. In honor of Zach and Kaya and their siblings, both families have created the Zach Sutherland and Kaya Firth Resiliency Foundation, a registered nonprofit charity providing post-secondary scholarships to youth who have demonstrated resiliency following the loss of a loved one. Details can be found at www.choosetoberesilient.com. I'll be typing that in the chat box. Tonight, Darlene and Jeff hope that by telling their journey with profound loss, it will help add to the tremendous support that Helping Parents Heal provides. Jeff, Darlene, Ben, Nathaniel, and Zach, in spirit, live on the banks of the Credit River in Ontario, Canada. Irene and I have both read this incredible book, and we are so grateful tonight to welcome both Jeff and Darlene Sutherland.
Thanks for your kind introduction, Elizabeth. First, we would like to acknowledge and say that we are sorry for all of your profound losses and are honored that Elizabeth and Irene have allowed us to speak tonight at Helping Parents Heal.
Oh, sorry, just a second. Okay, I'm the technical difficulty. One sec. Can you hear me, Elizabeth?
Yes, I can, except you just muted yourself. Let me unmute you. Can you unmute yourself, Darlene? Just down at the bottom left of your screen.
There
you go.
Okay.
Good job.
Sorry. You heard the beginning part, I guess.
Yes, we did, definitely.
As Elizabeth has mentioned, I have had ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, for 13 years. I no longer can talk, move, eat, and breathe on my own. Because of this, I have been using my eyes to talk to my family and friends for 9 years. While this is a fantastic technology, I had to prepare for talks such as this with pre-recorded messages, and without the ability to emote, I have the problem of sounding like the school announcer at Charlie Brown's school. Wonka, wonka, wonka. Darlene will be presenting the majority of this presentation. I will be sharing some insights as a grieving dad. Most of these are in my book, Still Life. We hope that our eclectic presentation will bring you two more perspectives to helping parents heal, before ALS, I was a family doctor. I did many things in this role, including palliative care, obstetrics, and counseling. I loved my job and I saw it as a calling. I like to think that I gave good support to my grieving families, and I think that for a person who had not experienced profound loss, that I was kind and compassionate, and for the most part, I gave some comfort. Having gone through immense personal health losses, and the even greater loss of our healthy firstborn son and his girlfriend, I know that I am better able to help. Unfortunately, we have all had to endure the horrific loss of a child. Some of us are early in this journey, and some of us are further along this journey. None of us wanted to lose our children, yet still this is where we find ourselves. When we first lost Zach and Kaya, Darlene and I didn't know if we could survive. We were paralyzed with fear and didn't know if it was possible to adapt to our new reality. We didn't know that with our experience with ALS, that the greatest tragedy would be if we enabled more tragedy to ripple throughout ours and our sons' future lives. During times of seemingly unending darkness, you may wonder if other people who have faced profound loss eventually find peace and happiness again. The simple answer is yes, it is possible, but it takes a lot of work. It requires you to challenge your belief systems and summon your deepest reserves of will. Through the active work of reading, reflection, writing, mindfulness, and other healing modalities, you can eventually find some peace in your situation. When negative change enters your life, you have to decide for yourself the whys of fighting for some level of peace. The whys for me have always been my loving wife and my 3 sons. They have always been my priority, especially following my tragedies. To successfully fight, you have to find your why. Once it is found, the how will follow. Self and spirituality are prominent in our journey. This was our path, but we all grieve and mourn differently. Throughout the process of healing, you will need love. Some days you will not feel loved or find the ability to love others. You will feel very much alone. This is the path of grief. After a loss, it can be very solitary, but with the support of loved ones, you will find purpose and meaning in your life. And by giving love to others and to yourself, you will find the path to happiness. Before I hand it over to Darlene, I want to say that you have the power to choose a healing path after the searing pain of losing a child. I know that our children want this for us.
Okay, so again, Jeff and I certainly would like to thank Elizabeth and Irene for this incredible ability to speak with other parents. And as Jeff said and gave a bit of introduction, it's been certainly a challenging journey, to say the least, and one that we never ever, like any of you, ever foresaw coming, or that this would be what our life would entail. However, it has, and we all find ourselves in situations that we don't always have the option to choose what happens, but how we respond. So I'm going to take a deep breath and just sort of the best that I can, so that because I do have a tendency, as Kaya's mom, who I know is watching as well, knows, I can want to give you so much information that I go much too quickly, and I really don't want that to be the intention. I want what we say to resonate and really hopefully find a place that, as when I view any of these sessions, my goal is always to, if I can take one snippet of information away, then I find it a valuable experience. So I'm hoping that we can certainly provide a nugget of positivity to everyone tonight. As Jeff has said, our journey started with ALS, and we thought that was what our family's tragedy, if there was going to be one, was going to be. And we thought, if we could manage this and look out for the boys and try to live our lives as positively and meaningfully as we could, then that's the best we could hope for. Never ever imagining what was to happen 9 years after Jeff's diagnosis. I just want to give you a bit of background information on Zach and Kaya. As we feel about all of our children, they were just, you know, I could go on the whole time, as everyone could, about the immense joy they brought to their family. They were the eldest of 3 children in each family, and they were just very grounded, very, I guess probably I could use the term old souls, and both of them certainly captured that meaning, in that they really thought and I guess lived their lives beyond the age of what most 21-year-olds would have at that point. Kaya was certainly, for her and her family, a rock, and Zach, although he certainly gave us a run for our money early on, it was a challenging and spirited young boy. When Jeff was diagnosed, when he was only 13 years of age, friends and his friends noticed that he went from being a boy to being a man, and certainly took on the responsibility, not that we ever wanted or not that we could really see, but he took the responsibility of being the lead for his brothers and to make a good example, because we had the 3 of them in just over 3 years, he and his 2 brothers, and he knew what he set would be what they would follow. So he took a real lead in our family, and we were very fortunate for him being such a positive role model, but not only that, just a wonderful son, and touched so many lives. as did Kaya. She was just a kind soul, and as well accomplished so much in so short a time. Zach and Kaya actually started their relationship, so to speak, at the tender age of about 3 weeks old, as Jeff was her family physician, and he actually showed the family a picture of Zach when they were in doing her well baby check. And funny enough, they of course never ever chummed around until they ended up in the same kindergarten class. And then we moved, and so they did not remain friends with that. And then when they met up again in middle school, once again, there was a spark, there was a connection, and obviously true soulmates. They started dating in middle school and went to graduation together. And then during high school, they decided to take a bit of a break, and then they got back together and had been together for 6 years prior to the accident. And they were just amazing together because they were, although their values were the same, they had very different personalities. Zach being more boisterous and the life of the party, and Kaya being more reserved and balanced, and the two of them really, it was such a connection and beautiful to see, and they just really made everyone around them feel like they were experiencing something special. Suddenly, unfortunately, all of their lives and their futures, they were both ready to graduate university. And I should say at this point, I often speak of them together, not to take certainly any parenting away from the fact that we're Zach's parents, but Kaya and Zach, because of passing together, we often speak of them not as a unit, and certainly separate, and Kaya's parents speak of her obviously with an incredible tenderness as their daughter, and we as Zach separately, but because we just adore both of them, and because we lost both of them at the same time, that we often speak of the two together. And we've become the only, which is a sad thing to say, when Zach and Kaya passed, our friendship with her parents became our bond, and we are so connected to them, and have such incredible respect. And it was through the time that we spent after Zach and Kaya's passing with Kaya's parents that created a lot of the healing, and we often said that was almost our own support group, and not that we would ever wanted it that way, but it's how it turned out, and the healing has been certainly that much quicker by having them in our lives, because we know that they're there unconditionally for us as we are for them, and because we can share our children's experiences and who they were, and so much to be left unsaid just because they were such a big part of our families. So I know that may sound a bit confusing. I hope it doesn't, but they really both mean so much to both families that we often speak of them together. But we certainly don't want each of them to lose their own identity. I know what's really important, and what I get from these discussions is finding out what has helped, because we can appreciate some are very early on in your journey, and we're a little bit further out, and of course there's others that are much further out from their children transitioning from us. At no point do I ever want, and Jeff and I are very conscious of this, to make it look as though either ALS and how we're managing living through that, or the loss of our children, is ever an easy one. It is the absolute, as Jeff said, the absolute hardest thing that we have ever done in our lives. And you see me here speaking and maybe somewhat calmly, maybe somewhat with some understanding. But in the beginning, as Jeff alluded to, we honestly did not know if we would survive. To the rawness of myself having to do an internet search to find out. I did not know anyone personally who had ever lost a child. I actually Googled anyone that was a celebrity that I'd heard of that had lost a child to see if the parents were still surviving, because I honestly did not know if it was possible. And so for some of you who may be viewing and wondering the same thing, I'm hoping that we give you some comfort in knowing it doesn't happen right away. It takes a lot of work, a lot of self-healing, a lot of support from others. But if we can show you that there is hope, there is light after and during all the darkness, then that's really what we want to share with you. And it took having a counselor come in the first couple of weeks, and we truly thought we were going crazy, and we were wondering how we could find a level ground to our lives again. And she assured us that we weren't going crazy. This was the depths of grief, particularly after the sudden loss or any loss of a child. And for the siblings, when you have someone one moment and they're gone from you the next unexplicitly, then it's really difficult to grapple with the reality. And it took us a long time, obviously, and she explained that we were in a state of shock, and that shock lasted for a long time. But we have, we did search and do a lot of reading, a lot of work, and that we knew we had to do. We were doers, and we wanted to figure out how we could best heal and understand the grief that we were going through. So during the first year, which Jeff, I wasn't writing, but Jeff was chronicling, and he's very honest in his book. Very honest, and it's very vulnerable, but he expresses the depth of where we were at, and which was really important because I have a lot of blanks going backward and not a lot of remembering of specifics, but it was a darkness that needed to be recalled and needed to be shown to others, because those that are going through those stages now, it's hopeful to know that with the right supports, the right healing, you can work through that. I'm going to go ahead to something that was incredibly impactful to our healing at 5 weeks. And that was one of our family's best friends, who also was very, very connected and close to both Zach and Kaya. And she very cautiously approached us and said that she wanted to give us an offering of something that she and her family had found healing, but in no way wanted to insult us or for us to be offended. But she brought to us the possibility of having a reading with a spiritual medium. Jeff and I, being very scientific, had never had a reason in the past to even explore the possibility or what a medium could do for us. We had heard friends who had lost family or who had lost parents, who had said that they had gotten comfort from a medium. but we had no need until we experienced our own loss of Zach and Kaya to want more, to want to know where they're at, what's happening. And along with the boys, they said, absolutely, let's give it a try. And this was the first medium reading was done via a telephone with someone in New York City who she had suggested and recommended. And at that time, because we were so new to this, I was like, how is this possibly going to work via telephone? We're not even in the same room with this person. And Jeff, being equally or more so skeptical, said, okay, all of this is going to be looked at on the internet. He's going to be doing his searching before he speaks with us. And so we were very cautious on that first meeting to make sure we answered only very strict yes, no responses and didn't give any details. So I think back at that poor medium, there was no change in our tone. It was simple yes, no, and we gave no details. It was absolutely, to say the least, our turning point. It was the most phenomenal experience. The medium did not even know, and we were so new to it, I didn't know I was supposed to say, aside from myself, there were others in the room, of which there was Jeff and Zach and Ben and Nathaniel, his brothers. And the messages that Zach brought through at that very early time were messages that nobody would have known. In fact, there was a conversation from the night before that we had had, that there's no way anybody could possibly have known. There was a specific message for Jeff. There was a specific message for Ben, for Nathaniel, and for myself. And I did not even say there were others in the room, but the spiritual medium had said, okay, he has a message, and how they describe a brother, how they describe a father. It was unbelievable. And that started us on an incredible healing journey. From there, we spoke to a number of we didn't realize that our area that we lived in was actually so vast with spiritual mediums. It was like an underground. And once we started digging and talking, it was just, the doors opened up and people were telling us about these incredible individuals who, you know, yes, I've had a reading from this person, or I know this person. And so I don't know if it's a mom thing, but Jeff was very happy after the first couple of readings. I needed more, and I sought out more readings from various individuals. And some were very good, some were amazing, and some were just okay. And I'm really glad the okay wasn't my first experience. And that's why we really, if you're at an early point, you are vulnerable, and really try to have someone give you a recommendation. A little bit later, we came across a medium in our community by the name of Marianne Kennedy, who became really like a spiritual advisor, a mentor, a support for our family. And she's just so incredible, and she's so kind, and we'll speak to in a few minutes about a charity that we started in honor of Zach and Kaya. And one of the things we did, for anyone that knows me, when I find out something that I think others can benefit from, I want everybody to know. So we decided to have a platform reading, of which Marianne so generously offered to do platform readings. And friends were a bit cautious on our behalf to say, are you sure you want to put that out there to the community, that this is something that you believe in? And our belief at that point was so firm and so positive. We weren't concerned at all about where our faculties were. We knew we weren't crazy, and we knew that this was something that if we could share with others and it could help with the healing of others, just like our friend brought to us, then we owed it. It was something we had to offer the community. And needless to say, Marianne has since offered it every subsequent year, and it has sold it. So and has a waiting list. So it isn't that it's not well received, it is so well received, and it just takes talking about it, opening it up, and being okay with the judgment of people who may have opinions, and that's okay. This allowed people to come that may have been curious but didn't want to have a one-on-one because they wanted to test the waters and to see the possibility. And everyone walked away from those evenings being immensely changed. It was just absolutely phenomenal, and was such a gift and so incredible. Since that time, it's amazing when you start opening yourself up and you start expanding and you start talking to others. We had another really amazing friend who she didn't know that she had abilities. And again, she was more of an acquaintance, and she asked if she could come to speak with us. And when she did, she said that she had been to 3 spiritual mediums, and all 3 had a message that Zachary wanted her to give to us. And it was people doing things like that out of the kindness of their hearts that really just showed us that this is such an incredible healing modality. It's such a gift. And Jeff speaks a fair bit about mediumship and our entry into it and how it really changed our whole belief system. We were, we both have very critical thinking minds, but with everything that we were given with spiritual mediumship, it didn't matter how critical we wanted to be. The readings were unbelievable. Anyone that would read the dictation from the actual readings, they were just like, oh my gosh, this is Zach talking. This is, how would anybody know this? And it's like, that's the point. They are being told these things by Zach. Now and I should share with you, and I actually had shared with Elizabeth and Irene prior to coming on, our girlfriend, our very close friend who introduced us to mediumship just weeks after Zach and Kaya's passing, sent a message. She did not know that we were speaking tonight. She sent a message at 5:45 our time. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but I'll put it up to the screen, and I don't know if you can see it, but
No, it's kind of white,
okay.
unfortunately.
So
tell everybody what it says.
Okay, so it's Zach's name clearly, and my girlfriend had said, look what just showed up on my screen when I picked up my phone. And that was at 5:46 our time today, and it was, Jeff and I both said, that's exactly what we needed to have right now as we were preparing to speak tonight, which she knew nothing about. And it was such a gift. And it was like, thank you, Zach, because we obviously know you and Kaya are here and speaking with us or supporting us and being okay with what we're saying. So now I don't know how we are with time. Are you okay? Keep going a little. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going a little bit. Does everything make sense so far? Because when you're on this side speaking, you sort of lose track of what you're saying. So Elizabeth, is everything sounding okay on your end?
Perfect, Darlene, it's perfect. And we're great on time. And I know that Jeff wants to do his mantra. So let's go ahead. And if you want to say a little bit more, that's also
Okay.
Wonderful.
Great, as long as it's making sense on your end, I just sort of let it come through me. So thank you. So moving forward, Jeff does talk to a lot of the experiences we had following Zach and Kaya's passing. And really, if I could say what we truly focused on, Kaya has two younger brothers. Zach has two younger brothers. They're almost the same in ages, and they also knew one another. And when we were going through this, our biggest concern, because we knew it would be Zach and Kaya's biggest concern, was how the boys, their brothers, would make out with their loss. They were their rocks. They were their best friends in both families, and they knew they would be completely devastated. And so we knew to honor them and to make a difference and to not have more tragedy ripple through our family, we had to focus on their healing and be open and honest with them and be completely supportive of how they were responding, how, because our biggest concern was them wanting to give up and understandably being angry, but we didn't want them to get lost in the anger and the bitterness. And as everybody knows, it would be a lot easier to curl up in a ball, be frustrated, give up, and that we knew would be the last thing that Zach and Kaya would want from any of us, but especially their brothers who they absolutely adored and looked out for. So that role, not that it was ever not our role as parents, but we knew that as the eldest sibling, they took on that role, or they felt they were sort of sometimes on equal parenting status. So we knew that we had to be the one to set the example. And by that I mean we made sure that everything was discussed openly. We made them feel comfortable with having any feelings that they wanted to express. We made sure that if we were speaking and had anyone come in, such as a counselor, that they were involved. That with the mediumship, that they were on board with considering doing that. And we also offered anytime they wanted a private mediumship reading, that was available to them. We also knew that it was important for us to curve out some experiences so that they didn't feel, we knew they were fearful for us of them going out and doing anything that would cause any worry for us. And we never had that. We trusted our kids emphatically. We knew that that was not a concern. So we would sort of encourage them to go out with their friends, to have their friends over, because that was a network that they needed to have. And we didn't want them to feel they had to be there with us and be protective of us. But when you have other children, it's really important that they not take on additional roles because they are in the thick of their grieving. And so Jeff and I know Kaya's parents, Jennifer and Duncan, tried to do everything we possibly could to foster that healthy growth. And what they taught us and what Zach and Kaya taught us, that although Zach and Kaya were following sort of your traditional route of school after post-secondary education after high school, and they were both preparing to graduate, we had to honor our other boys, who 3 of the 4 were in post-secondary or preparing for it, and Kaya's youngest brother was still in high school. And we had to give them room to know if they wanted to venture back into that. And for some, it's very therapeutic for them to return to school right away or to return to activities that they were doing. But we realized very quickly, no rules apply anymore. It's whatever feels right, whatever healing is required, because this time is the most important. for no more need to feel must do this, have to do this. This is the route that we have to take, and we really wanted to honor and support decisions that they made. And each of them needed different healing. And for Ben, our middle son, he ended up taking a couple of years off of his schooling, away from schooling, and after trying to go back, he just couldn't focus. He said he just didn't know if this is what he wanted, and he needed time away. Nathaniel and his girlfriend at the time had been actually in New Zealand when Zachary passed. They had saved for a year for this gap year of traveling, and had just been 5 weeks into it when the tragedy happened. And so he slowly started traveling again. And as hard as it is for a parent to have your other children after you've had a loss to venture out, we knew how important that we had to encourage them to go out and to seek and to heal, whichever way was most beneficial for them. All we all wanted was for them to heal, to be healthy, to be happy, and for this not to follow them through life as an angry, a bitterness, but more as an honoring and the time. And with the mediumship, certainly they all know that their siblings, Zach for Ben and Nathaniel, and Kaya for Jackson and Isaac, they're still guiding them. So that's something that they all believe in and we get comfort from. In order to further honor our kids, and because we were all doers, and because to help with our healing, we needed to give back. We needed to do something. So just prior to the 1 year point, we actually established a scholarship called the Zach. It has now become a nonprofit foundation, so it's called the Zach Sutherland and Kaya Firth Resiliency Foundation. And we did that in honor of both Kaya and Zach, but also their siblings. And what the charity does is we provide scholarships for post-secondary education to youth who have experienced a loss, whether it's a family member, a close friend, and have demonstrated a resiliency after the loss. And we felt that this was a group that was so overlooked when tragedy strikes, and we wanted to refocus and really offer encouragement, support, so that they know what they're doing is honoring and carrying out the legacy of their own, whether it's another sibling, a friend, a parent. And it's incredible, the response that we've gotten from that. And Kaya and Zach's friends sort of ran with it and have done phenomenal with golf tournaments and with the mediumship night and other events to raise funds so that we can provide actually more more scholarships. And again, that's a way for all of their friends to help give back. So that is certainly, if anybody wants to look at that, and I know Jeff mentioned it, and Elizabeth, you said that you would put that as well in the notes, but please feel, it's called, the website is actually Choose to Be Resilient. So it's choose and then the number 2, be resilient. And the title stands for exactly what it is. You know, we haven't been given a choice as to the circumstances of what has preceded, but we feel we do have a choice moving forward, and we try to do everything we can to provide support, encouragement, and healing for everyone that's been affected. So on that note, I think if Jeff's ready, and I know, because I know from side profile, Jeff is putting everything in, and I'm going to hand it over to Jeff.
Wonderful.
During the first spiritual medium talk with Zach, in spirit, he had a particularly important message for me. He said, "Dad, you can heal yourself." From this simple statement, 6 weeks from his passing, I knew that it meant that I could work towards healing my greatest problem, the grief of a parent who has lost his child. Darlene and I discovered mindfulness and meditation and started seeing the world as not the black and white of the physical world, and were able to discover a world where love could connect the divide between us, who are physically alive, and them, our children, who are spiritually alive. With time, I began my mornings with the same chant in my mind. I can't fully say whether it came from my mind or if it was Zach telling me what I need to heal. I like to think that it was Zach showing me the way to remember the 18 qualities. My physician mind has put them in alphabetical order. Here we go. Abundance. When I think of abundance, I think of the love and support of my family and friends. I think of the resources that we all need to get through our profound adversities, such as good medical care counselors and money to pay for our basic needs. I reflect on the many abundances in my life. Balance. Balance reminds me that to live fully and that I have to watch myself so that I don't get obsessed with one activity. In grief, it reminds me that I need distractions so that I am not always a grieving parent. I must admit that I have been working on my balance recently because I know that I am off kilter. Compassion. I know that to be the best person who I can be, that part of it is being compassionate to all. Compassion also ignites altruism, and the ripple effect of good deeds magnifies throughout the world. Self-compassion is important for our well-being. Courage. Courage is important when we face our greatest adversities. It is what gets us out of bed each day to honor our past children through trying to live a life of purpose. Empathy. Empathy enables us to see life from someone else's perspective. It unites us. This is especially important right now in a world that seems more and more divided. For the grieving parent, it reminds us that we are not alone in our suffering. Faith. Faith in something or someone is important. Faith in the universe, source, God. Names don't matter, and the continuation of a conscious afterlife has given us comfort as we have been dealing with Zach's passing and as we live with my terminal disease. If you don't have spiritual beliefs, faith that a partner or loyal friend will help you when you need it will get you through a hard day. Even having faith that however awful you are feeling during a particular moment, this too will pass, will help us get out of our darkest times. Forgiveness. I write about forgiveness a lot in my book. I have been hurt by feelings of abandonment. If you are in a wheelchair with a ventilator breathing for you, believe it or not, you are no longer the life of the party. Some people decide to exit from your life. This is the same when you are a grieved parent. Some people avoid their own feelings of awkwardness at all costs. My advice is say goodbye and wish them well. If in the future The right circumstances exist for a reunion. You can forge ahead without lingering resentment. As grieving parents, we have to forgive ourselves for the false blame we put on ourselves for the should-haves, could-haves, and only-ifs that we feel would have changed the outcome and prevented the loss of our children. Gratitude. I wrestle with gratitude. Let's face it, life is hard for a parent who has lost a child or children. None of it is okay, and it will never be fair. To add to losing Zach and Kaya, we live with the complexities of a terminal disease. Although I can't be grateful for these circumstances, I can be grateful for the unconditional love that Darlene and I share with each other and our 3 sons. I am grateful for the 21 years that we had Zach in our lives. Like all of you, I would have loved more time, but that was out of my control. Every day, I think of 3 things that I am grateful for, and this brings me perspective on life. Hope. Hope is what gets me through each day. I don't have hope for a cure to my circumstances. I have made peace with my present. I do have hope that I will be comfortable, and I have hope that Darlene and our sons will have more happiness in their lives than sadness. Imperfection. Imperfection might seem as a strange thing to have in a mantra that is supposed to inspire. For me, it reminds me that I don't have to strive for perfection. This is an impossible threshold to attain and maintain. Perfection in one part of our lives means that other parts of our lives are being neglected. As parents who have lost a child, our lives will never be perfect, but we can accept the imperfection, and by doing this, we will allow brightness to return. Integrity. Integrity is important to me. It incorporates honesty, trustworthiness, inclusiveness, and kindness. I have lived my life with these qualities front and center. Because of this, I have the respect of others. I believe that this is the true nature of our souls, and this congruence gives me peace. Joy. I believe that joy is the state that brings us closest to the vibrational state of our loved ones on the other side. I can't be joyful all of the time, but I can have joyful experiences. I consciously look for these in my life and enjoy them fully in the moment. Love. Love is like the sun, it nurtures our entire being. That love can transcend the boundary of the physical world, and the spiritual world is a miracle to me, and this sustains me when I miss the physical Zach. I have found that, to quote the Beatles, all we need is love, and the love we take is equal to the love we make. Mindfulness. Mindfulness and meditation, as I have mentioned, has been extremely important for our healing. Being present in the moment enables me to dwell less in past versions of myself and my family, and allows me to stay away from the worries about my many imaginary versions of the future. Dwelling in the past and the future can bring sadness, especially to people like us who have experienced profound loss. Dwelling in the present is usually a gentler place to exist. Passion. Passion ignites purposes in our lives. Passion also enables us to be intimate with our special loved ones and creates more love. Peace. When my mind is at peace, I feel closest to the spiritual Zach. Making peace with the profound losses in my life has enabled me to accept my imperfect life and move forward with these losses fully integrated into the new me. Purpose. When I refer to purpose, I should really use the plural purposes. I have had many fulfilling purposes unfold in my life. One of my recent purposes is to try to inspire others as I live the end of my life as a severely disabled person. My most important purpose is to be a loving father and husband. If I'm lucky, I will have some more before I pass from the physical. Purpose enriches our lives, helps us honor our past children. It turns us from victims of our life circumstances to victors because of our life circumstances. Resilience. Resilience is what I have been striving for in my life. I define resilience as not just surviving life adversities, but thriving despite life adversities. I have found that all the previous qualities have helped me to be resilient through the last 13 years of my life. Resilience makes me strong, despite not being able to move a muscle in my body. Resilience has shown me that as a person with special needs, that I am so much more than my body. I hope that my story has helped you recognize that if I can be resilient despite seemingly impossible odds, the same is possible for you.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if that was the last one, Jeff, but that was the most beautiful. And I just want to tell you, Irene and I both read your book. And again, we did cry a lot, but it was the most inspiring book I think I've read in a very long time. And I feel so grateful that you have come to speak tonight. I want to just read a few of the things that people are saying in the chat box. Mary is saying, this is so moving and brings me hope, which I know is something that's so important for you to do. Peggy's saying, very awesome. Rhonda is saying, just amazing what a wonderful medium reading can do for bereaved parents. I am so happy that you had a wonderful first experience. Andrea is saying, this is so beautiful. Thank you for this information. And then, let's see, Anna is saying, this presentation is simply amazing. Beata is saying, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. Irene is saying, such beautiful words. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Darlene. Anna again is saying, OMG, what beauty and love surrounds you. Joan is saying, this is so inspiring. Thank you for this gift of hope. Patty is saying, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us. Valentina, beautiful and inspiring message. Janice is saying, absolutely amazing. What a gift to all of us. Heidi is saying, thank you so much. Very inspiring. Roseanne is saying, thank you for teaching us tonight. We are stronger because of you. Suzanne is saying, courageous. Thank you. Pilar is saying, incredible, so inspiring. Polly's saying, thank you so much for sharing your story. Teresa is saying, thank you for coming and inspiring us. Carol's saying, so inspiring, thank you. Iris, so beautiful and inspiring. Marjorie, thank you for sharing the ABCs of meditation. Connie's saying, so inspirational, thank you. Kathy is saying, thank you for this. And Andrea, again and saying, our hearts know words that are true. Thanks again. So this has been absolutely beautiful, Rose. Okay, I have to just add this, is saying thank you for the inspiring story and message. I needed to see and hear what you said today. And I feel the same way. I think that it's always wonderful to be able to hear these messages that are just so important for all of us to remember, that in spite of the most difficult things that can happen in life, there is still joy, there is still love, there's still happiness. And you are such a shining example of this, and I truly appreciate it. I just want to also recommend to all of you this wonderful book, Still Life. If you are able to read this book, you'll see just why Irene and I were so enthralled with both Jeff and Darlene. And we are at the end of the presentation. I don't know if Darlene, oh, Roseanne's saying buying it tonight. Darlene, did you have any closing words that you wanted to leave us with?
I think the closing words are, again, we are so grateful to yourself, Elizabeth, Irene, and all the other volunteers with Helping Parents Heal. I actually just came across your organization a few months back, and I am just, oh, of course I'm telling everyone and anyone about it. I think it's an amazing opportunity for people to feel loved, held, and offer hope. And that's really all any of us can do, and you guys do it so graciously. And I can't say enough to just say thank you. You are serving your children, you're honoring them, and I can't say, Jeff and I are just so grateful that you're providing this for everyone out there. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and to share our story. Zach and Kaya, and you know, it's through people like yourselves that give us the continued purpose to get up in the morning and try to help others. So thank you.
Well, and Zach and Kaya are great friends with all of our kids now, and they are in fabulous company because we've got some of the most incredible kids who are helping us on the other side. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Irene,
really.
have you unmuted everyone so
Yes,
that everyone can say
unmute
goodbye
yourselves
and
and say
thank
thank you.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
Thank you so much, Jeff and
Thank you so
Darlene.
much.
Thank
I
you.
just loved it.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank
It was
you so
fabulous.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very loving. We appreciate it.
Look forward to